We've got Chris on technical, Neil on insight, and Steve in the driving seat. It's Talking Formula One.
Good evening and welcome to Talking Formula One. Oh, I can hear myself. Ooh, there we go. Good evening and welcome to Talking Formula One. We are looking back at this weekend's Mexican Grand Prix. I am Steve. Chris is with me. How are you, Chris?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good, thank you. How's your week been?
Yeah, uneventful, I think.
Yeah.
Or eventful. I'm not quite sure. No, it was eventful. No, it was eventful.
For the right reasons, I hope.
No.
Oh, dear.
All I got to say is the RAC. I'm still waiting for him.
Excellent. Well, there we go. We are here to look back at what was, I think, a thrilling and exciting, enthralling Grand Prix that started at 8 p.m. last night and seems to go on for about 3.5 business days. How did you find yesterday's Mexican Grand Prix?
I thought it was quite interesting. My wife didn't. She fell asleep, but
it was. It wasn't a banger, was it? It was.
Nah. Oh well,
steady. Dog agrees.
No, it was a standard Mexican Grand Prix. It's a shame that it is so hard to overtake.
Mm.
Like the track shouldn't be hard to overtake. I mean, it's got a massive straight followed by a couple of slow corners and then another straight again. But it seems there's just the temperatures are so high when you get in the dirty air that you can only follow for a certain amount of time, and then you're cooked. But I thought the race was all right and fair. I was flat. Well, I was waiting for the Ferraris to get going. You know, that 5 laps turned into 25, and then the race.
They had to go at 2 starts, and neither of them were brilliant. So you didn't do it the first time. Try it again this time, and they still didn't manage it. It got off to a very exciting start, didn't it? Obviously, you had a Ferrari front row lockout, which no one saw coming with the pace of the Red Bulls in practice, relative to the Ferraris.
Might be the Ferraris.
Then you had Verstappen in P3, Daniel Ricciardo P4 in the AlphaTauri. More on him later. Sergio Perez, the home hero, of course, in P5, and lights out. Verstappen obviously got an insane start, and he was straight away alongside Leclerc for the lead. Perez did a bit of slipstreaming into turn 1, saw an opportunity, sent it round the outside, and went for a little trip in the air. Didn't go well, did it?
I think he had 2021's race start in his head when Verstappen swooped around the Mercedes.
Yeah, Verstappen around the outside, job done.
The problem was is that Verstappen's already won his championship. Leclerc wants to win a race. None of them were going to back out. No, because the problem with that year was Bottas broke too early, which made then Hamilton break too early.
Yeah.
And then Verstappen just ran the outside. But they all just broke normally, and Perez was kind of left on the outside, much like Hamilton was in Qatar, trying to go around the corner that probably you should have lifted it. But he said in the interview afterwards he had to. He felt like he had to. His home race, he made such a good start that was his one and only chance to.
I can see where he's coming from.
I don't know if he felt that Red Bull would prioritise him if he got the lead of the race. I very much doubt it because Max.
No, I doubt they would. It's a tricky one. I think, to take the lead of the race, that may be one of his only chances, but he'd have had more chances for a podium. You know, that car is supremely fast, and it looked very, very good this weekend, as it has done since March.
He said that he's had a podium. He didn't want a podium, but I feel like that was his one and only chance to win his home race.
Yeah, but
he will never know. So, but it was to be fair, Leclerc was exceptionally lucky just to get away with losing the end plate on the wing, to be fair.
Yes, the amount of debris that came off those cars, I thought that would be it for Leclerc. Like suspension, steering, whatever, gone. But
and I don't know whether Ferrari should actually start chopping their end plates off because, like Silverstone in 2021, when Charles Leclerc was quicker with 5 points less downforce on the front end.
Yeah.
He was quicker than Sainz with less downforce on the front end. So maybe they should just try and ditch the end plates.
Run with no front wing, solid, go all the way. Evening, Mike Baker, welcome in, hope you're well. Good comment here. Hamilton's move on Leclerc, some serious balls, best overtake of the race. Got to agree, that was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was a move of it's now or I'm finishing third.
Yeah.
So he took a measured. You say measured risk. He put 2 wheels. If he put 1 wheel on the grass, he would have gone round in a circle. But because he put sort of clipped 2 wheels, it kind of doesn't give you the same effect as one. So
no,
he went for it. He had to do it because otherwise he would have been like Russell behind Sainz. He would never got the tyres would have been cooked, and actually would have been probably overtaken by Sainz. I would have thought he would have done tyres and all the brake temperatures and things. So it was a very good move. He was pretty ballsy because it was do or die.
Yeah, it was a decent move, and I think it was coming. I think the Mercedes has had better race pace than the Ferrari for most of the year. To be fair, Ferrari is very good over one lap. It's very good at getting its tyres up to temperature. The 1 lap pace, particularly in Charles Leclerc's hands, is very good. He's had 4 poles this year, I think, and then obviously a sprint pole as well. No race wins to show for it.
Sorry about the Ferrari was how even 6 seconds behind, Leclerc was still managing brake temperatures and engine temperatures.
Yeah,
which I found very good.
Yeah, it is
really do that.
It is. Yeah, I know that this year is a write-off for Ferrari. Hopefully, I really hope next year they can get back to early 2022 levels, but actually have a car that isn't made of paper and they can actually finish a race without catching fire. That'd be brilliant. But we shall certainly wait and see. But it was a very, very good overtake. I love there's actually a bit of a contrast with the Hamilton and Leclerc overtake. And then a radio message from Esteban Ocon saying, "Tell Haas I'm coming." And then he never did. So I'm going to get him. And then he just didn't get him for about another 6 odd laps until he finally managed to overtake the Haas of Kevin Magnussen. No, Hulkenberg, wasn't it? I just love the contrast. Hamilton, just go for it. Go for the move. Overtake. Job done. Ocon was like, yeah, I'm going for it in 3 to 5 business days. Okay, cool. So just the contrast there between Alpine and the Mercedes was brilliant.
Yeah, eventually.
He got it done eventually. I think it was one of the most memorable bits of the race for me, and that doesn't say a lot for the race.
I think he got it done purely because I think the tyres on the Haas had completely gone because Hulkenberg then lost 3 places straight away. Yeah,
and it's such a shame for him to end his 200th race like that as well, because he was looking, for the most part, like he could score a point or two. Because obviously, everyone got bunched up a little bit because you had Norris out of position at the start. You had, obviously, Perez out. The pain on Perez's face, I did feel quite bad for him, but not for very long. Well, he deserved it. You shouldn't have tried to throw your car around the outside like that. And the crowd booing Charles Leclerc at the end of the race as well. Don't boo. He acknowledged it and said, "Look, I had nowhere to go. Where do you want me to go?" But of course they boo. I mean, they're very passionate fans, and fair enough, rightly so. But come on, no booing.
No. Yeah, I still don't know what I feel about the Mexico City Grand Prix. I don't know.
Not a fan. The atmosphere, fantastic. The race itself, awful. I can't remember a memorable race.
If they lose Perez, what's the interest for the fans?
Yeah, I think if they lose Perez, it will go.
Like if Silverstone didn't have any British Brits, it would be the same. Well, Spa doesn't have any Belgian anyway, but sort of like I feel like the Zandvoort's a bit the same as well. Max, if Max leaves, do they have the same sort of atmosphere? I don't think so. But I think with especially Mexico, it's all about Perez, and if he isn't there, like that, they lose interest quickly. Especially the price of it. It's quite an expensive race.
Yeah. I've got this vision in mind now of like a Dutch Grand Prix after Max Verstappen is retired, and it's just completely deserted. A couple from like 2 Ferrari fans sitting in the stand by themselves, just cheering on Ferrari. But no one else is there. That'd be brilliant. But yeah, we shall see what happens with that. Well, a chap who we touched on briefly, we mentioned his name, who was back for his 2nd Grand Prix after breaking his hand. Daniel Ricciardo. Great weekend from him. He put a P4 on the grid in an AlphaTauri, splitting the 2 Red Bulls, and then kept his nose clean and some impressive racing. He finished 7th, which is very, very good for what is one of the worst cars on the grid. Outqualified Yuki Tsunoda And people were saying, of course, that he had a toe in Q1 and Q2, but in Q3 he didn't. He's back. Oh, Danny Rick, I think, is back. Pre-McLaren, Danny Rick. And it's good to see. Fighting George Russell, brilliant. What did you make of this weekend?
Well, the AlphaTauri upgrades are leaning towards a more Red Bull-style car, where you can arguably say the last time he drove well was in a Red Bull car. So the car may be suiting him now. I think he was surprising, but he was there on merit. For the 3 quarters of the race, he was nailed on for 5th, I thought.
Yeah.
And then the red flag, I think I read an interview that he said that the tyres just felt completely different after the red flag. He just couldn't get them back up to where they were. And he was confident of keeping Norris out, if they carried on with the red flag, on them that set of tyres he had. So it was purely there on pace. He didn't get dropped. He didn't get left behind. It wasn't like a 10 to 15 gap. He was there. And he's only 3-4 seconds behind Lewis for a long period, and then obviously the pit stop happened, and then he was only behind the Ferraris by a couple of seconds. So it was all there by merit. It wasn't a fluke like sometimes we see where someone qualifies high up and then like Zhou did last year, he 5th and he stalled it on the best, but he just went backwards and never regained it. Yeah,
and you get a bit of a sort of how like Jarno Trulli used to qualify well, but he could never really race well. You get a bit of that, but sometimes it's a bit fortuitous where you think, oh, he got a podium, but 10 people retired, a bit like Olivier Panis in the Monaco Grand Prix. But this was completely on merit.
Yeah, that engine, I think, goes really well in the at that high altitude. I think it's sort of probably the best engine at that sort of altitude. So
yeah, we've seen it in previous years, haven't we? With even when Mercedes have dominated, it's been a Red Bull track because that Honda seemed to love the high altitude more so than the Mercedes and the Ferraris, and the Renault just doesn't like anything. But they've gone really well. And Tsunoda was fighting back, wasn't he? And then he decided to go for a move that Perez tried and didn't work. And it didn't work for him either. Around the outside of, was it Piastri?
Piastri, yeah.
And then just tipped himself around, which was a silly move from Tsunoda. You just see him absolutely whacking his steering wheel in the car. Go, you're still racing.
You knew the radio message before you heard it.
Oh yeah. As soon as it comes up on the thing saying Tsunoda radio, here we go. And then it's just loads of stars. It's guaranteed. A few things in F1 are guaranteed. There's a Verstappen win and a Tsunoda sweary radio, always.
Yeah. It was unnecessary, really, because if he just took a slightly wider line around the apex, he would have cleared him anyway. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with Tsunoda. He has these moments still. He just sort of like think, he should not be doing that anymore.
Yeah, he's in his 3rd year of Formula One now. The first year, obviously, you can, to a certain extent, you can understand it and you can tolerate it. But year 3, you've had a lot of experience now. And sometimes he comes out with these incredible races and you think, where was this? And then the next weekend, he'll go back to 2021 spec Tsunoda and do something stupid like that.
Yeah, and sometimes you've got to think of who you're overtaking as well. So if you're overtaking the likes of Stroll, you give them a lot of room because they're going to be an idiot and try and push the road, etc. And Piastri's a rookie. He's going backwards at an alarming rate. He's kind of trying to bend it, even if he knows he's probably going to lose it eventually. So you give him a couple of car whips, knowing that full well you've got the grip to get around him anyway. But he turned in, I think he turned in marginally earlier than he normally would, personally.
Yeah. But he did seem to turn in strangely early.
Yeah, and then that just put Piastri into his rear right. So I think, ruined what could have been a very, very good day for AlphaTauri, really.
It did. But, with that 7th place, that has moved AlphaTauri up. So they are now 8th in the championship, 12 points behind Williams, who picked up another 2 points, courtesy of, surprise, surprise, Alex Albon. Sargent went back to being big Sargent. Just another all weekend. So you've now got AlphaTauri. Yeah. I thought, here we go, 10th in Austin. And no. 8th place for AlphaTauri, 16 points. Tied on points with Alfa Romeo on 16, who are 9th. And then Haas now down to 10th on 12 points. So there's 4 points separating 8th and 10th. Williams have got a bit of a cushion. I'm still not quite convinced yet that they're safe. But it's interesting. It's like the battle of the wheelie bins at the bottom of the table, but
yeah, I think Haas's fixation issue is it just kills any chance of getting any points now.
Yeah, because they qualify well, particularly Nico Hülkenberg qualifies well usually. He's flirted with the top 10 quite a lot this year, and he found himself running in the points, and then that car just absolutely cooks its tyres, and suspension decides to just go on its own little trip, sending Magnussen into the barriers.
It's tracks, specific. So the early parts for the year where they got their points, Australia was quite cold, and then you have some night races in the Middle East, so the temperatures are low. So obviously we had bad weather in Europe, but those cooler weathers helps their tyre deg. And also they're quick in a straight line. So someone like Saudi Arabia, they'll be pretty quick. But I don't see them being anywhere near on the pace at Brazil because of that infield section will do them, I think.
Magnussen got pole last year. Changeable conditions, I know, but I never know.
Went straight backwards.
Yeah, that was going to happen, wasn't it? But yeah, so you
can't go more than 50 laps without obliterating the tyres. That's the problem. I mean, 61 laps, Hülkenberg would have got a point. But 71, unfortunately.
There was extra 10. But they are now down to 10th place and last in the constructors. As I say, 8th and 9th, 16 points each for AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo. I reckon AlphaTauri have got that 8th place.
Alfa Romeo is a funny bunch, aren't they? I mean, they qualified in the top 10 for both cars. And then finished like second last or third,
I always find that there's two teams I find that tend to go under the radar that I never really pay attention to, and it's Alfa Romeo and Alpine.
Because you know where Alpine is at.
Because you have to look in the middle of the table. But Alpine, every now and then they pop up. Ocon got a podium in Monaco and Gasly in Belgium. But you look at them and think, oh yeah, there they are, 12th and 13th. After qualifying in the top 10. It's very much like Alfa Romeo. You think, bloody hell, Bottas in 9th or wherever he could qualify. And then you look about 20 laps in the race and he's down to the back. And it's those two teams that I find go missing in races. Haas, you can guarantee you're going to start okay and then just obliterate themselves. Albon's always flirting around the top 10.
Yeah, I think Sargent falls into that category with him.
Yeah.
Don't ever look for what Sargent's doing because you know where he is. Yeah,
just look towards the bottom. You'll be fine. They are a weird team, Alfa Romeo, because they always... It's a bit of a thankless task, I think, driving for them. You finish 9th in qualifying and everyone's going, great job. But then you're going to fall away in the race and get no points out of it unless something incredible happens.
Yeah,
so
and they had Théo Pourchaire and the young drivers, and they couldn't. And they didn't complete one time lap because.
No, I feel bad for him. I feel so bad for Théo Pourchaire. There were a few rookies out this weekend. I think Frédéric Vesti, Pourchaire wasn't out, but was supposed to be out, and a couple of others as well. Jack Doohan.
Behrman was in the Haas.
Behrman, that's the other one. There's 4, wasn't there? There's Behrman, Vesti, Doohan, and supposedly Pourchaire, but unfortunately not. I don't know. But moving away from the battle of the wheelie bins to someone who was driving a wheelie bin at the start of the season and is now driving a prime piece of F1 machinery with a fantastic drive, 17th to 5th, Lando Norris. What a race from him. That was fantastic. Even though he lost a few positions here and there. Great drive. Rightly so, driver of the day.
Yeah. I think well, you always knew the McLaren was a fast car, but I think the thing that struck me was how he managed to keep those tyres, the mediums, so quick for so long, going through all the traffic. You think, I don't know what happened to Piastri there. He sort of just didn't have any grip at all. But I thought after 10 laps of him, because he was pretty much on the limit the whole time, really, because he had to. After 10 laps, it felt fall away, but he just seemed to carry on with the same pace, which I found quite interesting because with all that heat that he was spending 1 or 2 laps behind each car. But yeah, I thought it was a very good drive.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And that moves. Wow. Yeah, that moves McLaren 20 points clear now of Aston Martin in 5th. because it was another shocking weekend from Aston Martin.
That car is exactly the car that they ditched last year.
Yeah, it has reverted, isn't it? Apparently, there was something wrong in the CFD, and they're now playing catch up with it. I just look at the first half of the season with their results, and look at now. It is just astonishing.
Yeah, that literally is the car that they finished with last year, which was an absolute donkey.
It is. I'm going to quick check at the results here because I'm now intrigued by their results. Fernando, third, fourth, third, second, seventh, second up until Canada. Since Canada, there's been one podium, which was in Netherlands. Since then, it's been 9th, 15th, 8th, 6th, retired for Alonso due to floor damage on the car. Sure, it wasn't. Stroll has finished in the points once since the Dutch Grand Prix, and that was the 7th place in Austin. Obviously, he binned it in Singapore, so he didn't get to race. But the start of the season, 7 podiums in the first 8 races for Fernando Alonso, and everyone's thinking, here we go, win number 33 is coming.
Yeah, they were the second fastest team by a long way, really, as well.
Yeah, he could be the dark horse here for a race win and to challenge Verstappen, because Perez isn't going to do it. And 1 podium then since the Canadian Grand Prix. If you'd have said that at the start of the season, I'd have thought you were mad.
Yeah.
But it's shocking, isn't it? They're lucky they've got that start of the season.
I don't think I've ever seen a team go backwards that quickly.
No,
from where they are, you see teams go backward, so midfield to back of the field, but to be literally the second quickest team, I think he was slower than the Alphas at points.
I think he was, yeah. And I'm just looking at he's still 5th in the championship somehow. Lance Stroll, look a bit further down, 11th. Fernando, 183 points. So Carlos Sainz has now jumped him. And he's not got much of a gap to Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc's had a woeful season in comparison. Jesus. And then you look at the comparison. Sorry?
Only they gave points out for pole positions.
I know. Oh, it breaks my heart. Charles Leclerc, 7th in the championship. Piastri running in 9th. Up until the Austrian Grand Prix, he had only finished in the points twice, and since then he's done bloody well. But it's just, if you'd have shown me Aston Martin at the start of the season and McLaren at the start of the season, and then said that when you get to 2-3 races to go, they would be the polar opposites of each other, I'd have thought you were mad, because McLaren were absolutely nowhere, and everyone's laughing, saying, I bet Danny Rick's glad he hasn't got to drive that tractor and all that sort of thing, and that finally Fernando's made a good career choice. They've just done a complete Uno reverse card on themselves. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those, as you say, it's gone wrong in a CFD. Well, gone astronomically wrong somewhere, because you can't lose second and a half in a car that quickly. Really. Not unless you start making all sorts of wrong decisions.
It has. It's not gone well at all, has it? But
it's quite surprising, because I thought they were going on the Red Bull route. So I don't know. They seen something on the Red Bull that they thought was starting to do, and they've done it wrong. And I don't know. It
is a strange one. It really is. I do feel bad for them.
Interesting which way they go next year, really.
But next year's a big year, because Fernando obviously saw something with this team that made him want to sign for them with their eye on 2024. So they've got to have something in the works. They can't be this crap next year as well. I really hope not. I really want to see Fernando win 33, but
I
don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know. I think one of those teams, and they're going to throw a lot of money at it, and are they going to go anywhere?
Well, there's 3 races left in the season. Obviously, we go to Las Vegas for the first time, which is done completely for the racing and not at all for the commercialism of it. But before then, we go to one of my personal favorite venues of all time. We go to Interlagos in Brazil. It's always an exciting race in Brazil. we've had some absolute masterclasses in the past, numerous title wins, incredible weather, some amazing drives, some huge crashes. I'm looking forward to it. Are you looking forward to Brazil?
I am. It's probably the only time that the sprint format works for me.
Yeah.
That's probably why they've always had the sprint race there.
Mm.
But yeah, I always think it's all right. It'll be interesting to see if the Mercedes are as quick as they were last year.
Yes, currently their last win. Courtesy
Dominated the
George
weekend,
Russell.
didn't they, really? I don't think they will be. I think Red Bull will be quicker. But it'll be interesting to see if they do turn up with a similar sort of car, or whether it'll just be the same old.
I really hope that Mercedes can challenge and take the fight to them. We saw it last year. Red Bull were Mercedes were nowhere for most of last year. They turn up to Interlagos and they're competitive. Magnussen obviously got the pole in the sprint, but then George won the sprint and then went on to win the race as well. After Hamilton and Verstappen somehow found each other on track again. Not that we've seen that before. So whether Hamilton got a challenge for the victory, I reckon so. But this year, I think the Mercedes is looking more competitive this year. Hamilton has got a lot of podiums this year compared to last. He's not far behind Perez. That we didn't actually touch on. He's now only 20 points behind Sergio Perez.
Would be 1 point if he wasn't kicked out of last week's race, which would be serious. But I still think it's serious with Perez.
Yeah, and again, say that to me at the start of the season, that when you get to 3 races to go, Hamilton driving an absolute donkey of a Mercedes at the start of the year is only 20 points behind Perez, who is in an actual rocket ship. Like, that's not a Formula One car. That is that's aircraft right there.
I think with Mercedes, Hamilton's liking the car more and more. The more they go towards the Red Bull model, I think, which they're going to end up doing. More they put rear end on the car, which is what he wants. The more confidence gets him, and it tells he's annihilated George Russell really this season. There's 1 or 2 weekends where Russell was a little bit ahead of him, but he was always like that with Bottas anyway. But he has properly put Russell in his place this season.
Well, looking at the results, one thing that is surprising me, Russell, he's down in 8th place with 151. Hamilton's got 220 up in 3rd, but Russell's only got 1 podium this year, and that was back in Spain. And, with Perez off the boil as much as he is, you need to be taking advantage of that. And it doesn't seem that George has been. Hamilton has. But he's 20 points behind Perez. This is not boding well for Sergio Perez. Obviously, the rumours of him retiring in Mexico didn't come true. Well, retiring from the race did, but retiring from the sport didn't come true.
He probably
that's what they meant. Maybe that's what they meant, though. Maybe when they said he's going to announce his retirement in Mexico, that's how he meant to do it. Just like he's literally going to retire just from the race. But 3 races to go. If Perez doesn't finish 2nd in this year's championship, that is an absolute travesty. Because that car is one of the most dominant of all time. It is bulletproof in terms of reliability. Now, Max has not retired once. He's finished in the top 2 in all but 1 race. That is just a ridiculous stat. And Perez, a couple of retirements, but underwhelming.
Yeah,
it blows my mind that Hamilton can actually beat him to 2nd place in an actual rocket ship.
If Danny Rick has 3 more top 10 races, with Liam Lawson also having 5 very good races, what is the point of keeping Perez?
Yeah. Then there'd be some serious chats over the winter about getting Ricciardo back in that seat and putting Lawson back in the AlphaTauri.
They all have contracts with Red Bull. They're not contracted to drive specific Red Bulls. I'm sure Max probably is, but they're all Red Bull drivers, and then Red Bull allocate them to the seats effectively. So, I mean, Perez can have a contract next year if he wants, but he'll have a contract to be a sim driver.
Yeah,
because they'll bring in Lawson and bump Danny Rick up, sort of thing. So. He may well have a contract. It means absolutely nothing with Red Bull because they'll put you where they like.
Yeah. And Ricciardo has done 4 races this year, having obviously withdrawn from what would have been the 5th. And he's already put himself ahead of Zhou Guanyu, Magnussen, Lawson, Sargent, and De Vries. It's brilliant from Ricciardo, but this is obviously doing his long-term a
How many
lot of
points did he score
favours.
compared to Perez in them four races?
In 4 races, he finished 7th in Mexico, got his points. Perez retired, obviously. Previous race in USA, Perez finished 4th. Ricciardo was 15th because he got screwed by strategy.
Well, the old theory was that he was put out to go and separate Hamilton and Verstappen, wasn't he? That was the theory, that was a little rumor. He was sacrificed.
Yeah. Well, we are coming to the end of our little weekly chat here. So, Neil, as always, good to see you. Love you, really. Give me your top 3 from the race, not from the sprint for Brazil. Top 3 for the Grand Prix.
Third, I'm gonna go for Lando.
Good call.
Second, I'm gonna go for Max.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna go with Hamilton to win.
Okay. I'm on board with that. I was going to go for something very, very similar. It was going to be a Verstappen Hamilton 1-2, but I was going to chuck in a bit of George Russell in third. I reckon he'll go quite well here.
I think it always says something about Perez, but the fact that every week we don't put him in the top 3.
Yeah, that's become to be expected. It should be the 1-2 should be Verstappen Perez every week, but it never really is. No. Hopefully he'll surprise this weekend, but I'm running out of hope, to be honest.
He'll be back in Las Vegas as the street circuit.
Oh yeah, he absolutely shines on a street circuit, but yeah, we'll see. But there we go. So neither of us predicting a Verstappen win. Both of us predicting it's a Hamilton win.
In hope again.
And so I look forward, as I always say, I look forward to hearing the Dutch anthem again. So we know what's going to happen. I'm sure
I've turned it off by then now. I've had enough of it.
Yeah. All I want to do is hear the Monaco anthem because it's so happy, but it never happens.
I'm happy to hear the German one again, to be fair.
Oh, I missed that. Mind you, the German driver, you've got to hope that Nico Hülkenberg gets a win.
Yeah. We spent so many years, like 15 years, hearing the German national anthem so many times that actually I might listen to it again.
It's strange to think, isn't it, how dominant that German anthem was. The two anthems, right? That it was so dominant, the German anthem, and we haven't heard it since Vettel in 2019.
Yeah.
And the Brazilian anthem was the soundtrack of Formula One at one point, obviously with Senna and Piquet, and we haven't heard that since Barrichello in 2009. That's ridiculous that these two anthems at one point were like the soundtracks of Formula One.
Yeah.
And now they're just there's no full-time Brazilian drivers, and there's there's a German driver, but he's not going to win a race. Felipe Djokovic in the Williams next year. Going to be a good car. Job done. Brazilian anthem. Top.
I love to hear the Thai national anthem for album.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. I've never heard that anthem. I know they should. Maybe like years ago, there was like an Indonesian Rio Haryanto racing in it as well. Do they have to have the Indonesian anthem ready just in case?
Oh, they must have. Yeah. It's on Spotify. Find it.
Yeah. It's 01. Oh shit. Okay, where's the anthem? It's be like that. If that'd be great. I'd love to hear like the Japanese anthem for Tsunoda, the Thai anthem for Albon. That'd be brilliant. Just like the Danish anthem for Magnussen. That'd be awesome. Just like these lesser known anthems. But there we go. That has brought us to the end of our show. We need to discuss the best anthems. Amazing. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week. I say it every week, but next week we might have Neil. So at one stage I thought we'd have Neil tonight, but no you, Chris, and that's back to normal. But there we go. Enjoy your week. Have a great week, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the race this weekend as well. Races, because obviously sprint weekend. We shall see you next Monday at 7:15. I've been Steve. Here's been Chris. See you then. Cheers.
Yeah.